And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast, episode 221. I know I'm right. I will not look it up. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Okay. Before we even get started, we got a little something special. Last week, it doesn't matter what time. Last week I spoke with Jo Firestone, comedian extraordinaire, very funny person, comedian, writer. She has a special over there on the Peacock Network, the Peacock channel, called Good Timing with Jo Firestone. Now listen up. She did a workshop, a comedy workshop for 16 senior citizens leading up to their first ever live stand-up show. Now, she started working with the class in March of 2020. And then over the course of the year, the course of the pandemic, over Zoom, she held this class with these seniors. And I mean, these are senior citizens, not seniors in high school, not seniors in college. They're senior citizens. So she hosted this class. And guess what? They performed. At the end of the class, they performed in person. Now, you can tell this is over the pandemic because at least one of them has a mask on. 3 layers of mask, apparently. And it's great. Still a great special. In fact, I sat down with Jo to talk about the special, along with one of the class attendees, the aforementioned person who wore 3 masks. These people are very funny. They're very charming. And I enjoyed my time with the special. It's a good hour-long special that it's different than other specials. You know, sometimes I watch a special, I'm sent a special, and it's, regular just stand up, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to break boundaries. I like it when comedians get out there and do something different. And this is different. This is a comedy class with seniors, recorded live. It's wonderful. It's directed by Julie Miller, executive produced by Miller and Jo. And it's actually streaming today, the day that you're listening to this, October 15th, 2021. I hope I said 2021 correctly and not weird in any fashion. It is available right now over there on the Peacock Network channel. You know Jo from things like Shrill, Jo Pera Talks with You, High Maintenance, as well as some work she's done for The Tonight Show. She performed on Tonight Show as well as written for it. And she was also on the Chris Gethard Show. So yeah, Jo's great. I really want to talk to her. And then I watched this special as a result. And it was still surprising and oh so good. So check it out. Oh, by the way, I spoke to Jo. I spoke to Jo and Teresa. The young woman with 3 masks on, and it's a short one, so that's why it's not broken out into its own episode. But I'm glad I got what I could get. So that will be coming up in just a couple of seconds. But don't go away after that. If you're watching the video, I hope you are. I hope you are. You're seeing me talk about this. But then it's going to transition to the regular podcast. And so the video version of the interview will be broken out by itself on youtube.com/cpluscomedy. So if you're watching the video version, don't go anywhere. If you're listening to the audio version, don't go anywhere. Because you'll get the interview right here in the middle of the episode. That's how technology works. Let's see, I'm 4 minutes and 30 seconds in. I can vamp for a little bit longer. Get this an even 5, baby. So check out the special on Peacock, Good Timing with Jo Firestone. You can follow her on the Twitters and the Instagrams at all the appropriate places. I guess I should find that. Let's see, Jo Firestone. I'm way over time now. Jo Firestone, Twitter. You can find her on Twitter Jo Firestone. You can find her on Instagram at Yo Firestone. Facebook, and apparently her LinkedIn is like right next to this stuff. Anyway, all right, we are going to go to break. Enjoy this interview. Here it is. All right. Well, I only have you for a short time, so I guess we'll get right to it, if that's okay. Right. All right, Jo. So I saw that. I watched the special. I saw that you had this pure, just face of elation during every part of the special, during every part of the class. How did it feel seeing these people go up there and do these jokes for the first time?
It was so exciting. It was because we've only been on Zoom, so there's like a little bit of a element it's great to see people on Zoom, but there's an element that's missing, and it feels so cool to see people succeed in real life.
And Teresa, for you, how did doing those classes feel? Especially after if in the special it felt so expedient, but to you, I guess these lasted for a while. So what was that like for you to go through the class stage and then go into the final stage of actually doing the jokes in front of a crowd?
Well, I love Jo's type of humor, and I love how she conducts the class. So it seemed like a natural progression, and I can tell you, I never realized how much I loved to laugh until I started taking Jo's class. It's just miraculous. That's all I can say. And so it felt pretty natural to go from being on Zoom to being in person. There were 16 of us, and everybody is so different and so funny in a different way.
Yeah.
I agree.
Jo, I liked, you were very humble around them. You're you didn't try to upstage them. You're a very good comedy teacher.
Thanks.
What did you take away from the experience? Did you happen to learn anything from these people, not just about their lives, but about comedy in general?
Yeah, I think this was kind of a weird time for comedy. The last kind of year and a half has been pretty hard for people that are used to performing live to not perform live anymore. And so it was kind of nice to be around people that really wanted to keep writing and keep making jokes. And it was very encouraging because I felt like, well, what's the point? When it was just like when there were just like Zoom classes or whatever, Zoom shows, I just thought like, it's like, I didn't really like doing Zoom shows. And yeah, I think that I think that this was like a very nice way to continue to remember that comedy is fun.
Yeah, I think the best part about the situation is how you approached teaching comedy to newcomers, essentially, even if they had been on stage or in acting. It's like when you started out with the class saying, "Okay, just give me your dirtiest joke," and so you can just get that out of the way, and then these people learn by the end of the special, at least, how to tell real constructed jokes, and that was a very special thing.
Yeah, Teresa, you're not as dirty as everybody else, though. I'd say you're on the clean side.
What I like best is humor that doesn't hurt anybody, and I think that a lot of the comedians have it's gone in the wrong direction. Like I insult somebody and they act like it didn't hurt their feelings, and that's supposed to be funny. Can I tell you the joke that really? It was in our second class a year and a half, almost more than a year and a half ago, when we were still meeting in person. Mm-hmm. And that joke, I'm like, I will never leave this class. And I don't remember who told the joke, but here it is. And you can analyze it backwards and forwards. It was a woman who told it, and I think the assignment was something that happened to you in New York. So the woman said, I rushed into the subway, and there was this huge rat. It was enormous. And then he was so polite. He got up and gave me a seat.
And you've remembered that ever since.
That is one of the funniest jokes I ever heard. I don't know why. It just tickles me. It doesn't hurt anybody. And, you know, there's a subtle, very gentle political statement there. You know, we're taught to hate rats. So what's wrong with rats? They're trying to live like anybody else. You know, they eat the garbage on the street. That's very beneficial. Whatever. But, you know, we're taught to hate them. But, you know, they're okay.
Yeah.
They're just animals trying to live like everybody else. So
I did hear recently that rats eat pigeons. I'm just putting that out there.
Well, I think we have enough pigeons not to run out.
Okay. Wow, the pro rat stance. Incredible.
You know, I'm not crazy about rats, but that joke was very funny to me.
It's great. Wow, good memory.
Teresa, what are you using any of this? What you've learned from the comedy class in real life? Do you still want to go do open mics or anything? Do you still want to chase that dragon?
You know, I would if it wasn't for the pandemic. I have lung issues from being exposed to asbestos a long time ago, and you know, getting any kind of COVID on top of that would probably not be good for me. I mean, I'm the one that was wearing the mask time that we were shooting the film.
That's right. You were wearing 3 masks, and you taped them down. Okay, all right. Now I was trying to place your face, and I couldn't.
I had tape to make sure, you know, because I'm really short, that none of the COVID would, like, you know, come in.
You know, I heard the rats, they were actually passing COVID. You know, they would pass it from the subway cars. They would offer you seats and then just cough on you. Yeah.
Well, I haven't met one of them.
Now, what was the party bus experience? I really enjoyed that aspect of people just getting on a bus a couple of hours before showtime and hanging out, enjoying their really warm, sparkling cider. Whose idea was that, Jo? And Teresa, did you enjoy your experience with that? Was that fun for you?
Well, I loved everything. I loved it from the first time Jo said we might be able to do this. I just had a good time every single thing.
Wow. I think you get the positive attitude award for sure. The party bus was our director Julie Miller's idea, but it was it was pretty glorious. Everybody, we thought that maybe once everybody came on the bus, like it might take some like coaxing to get everybody in the right mood. But somehow the party bus really set everybody off in this direction of like really going hard. It was beautiful.
And I want to get to my last couple of questions here. Teresa, for show night, how did you feel going up on show night? Like, were there any nerves? Were you ready? Were you prepared? Did you feel like you were able to go in front of this crowd and do your 5 minutes?
Well, I haven't seen the final cut of the film, so I don't know what to say, but I did have a little brief 2-second freak out while I was starting my monologue. I hope they cut that. But
did you really? I didn't notice that.
You didn't notice that? Good. I noticed. But I'll show you my prop. Hold on. I did the thing on baldy lash, you know, bald eyelashes. And here's my Wonder Wiki White.
Yeah, we saw the balls.
From baldy lash. That's where you have bald eyelashes and the sweat runs down your face into your eyes because you don't have enough eyelashes. So, no, I think once I got started, I was just having a good time.
And Jo, do you have any parting words for any future older veterans of comedy?
that it's, I guess, I'm not sure. I guess that it's, we have a fun class, and I'm glad that it's gotten me through a lot of dark times. So I'm grateful for the class.
That's so sweet. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Jo. Thank you, Teresa. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chad.
It was lovely talking to both of you.
Well, thanks for having us on your podcast and your website. We really appreciate it.
Of course. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and good luck with everything else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
And we're back. I want to give you, if you just listened to the first 5 minutes of this, and you're just watching it. If you're just watching it, let me explain to you what just happened. I did that 5-minute prelude talking about Jo Firestone's special called "Good Timing" over there on Peacock, and I did the thing, and I leaned out for a second as the going to break song played, and then I just leaned back, and now we're doing this. What's going on in my life? Well, I'm wearing a Braves postseason shirt because they are now in the CLS, ACLS. Excuse me. I'm also opening emails. I just talked about Good Timing with Jo Firestone, and NBC Universal's press people just sent me the very same email I was looking at. Thank God. Like, PR people are good. How they know I'll be talking about it at noon? It's probably a time release email. I do those all the time. So I'm wearing a Braves postseason shirt from, I believe, the year 2013. I don't like to go to Braves games, mostly because a bunch of racists attend those games, and just don't plan on doing that. Hanging out with those racists. I think I've told that story before, how I didn't stand up for the 7th inning stretch, and they played "God Bless America," and the guy was like, "You didn't stand up for the God Bless America." You didn't stand up. He goes, "You didn't stand up for the national anthem." He goes, "What are you, Muslim?" Excuse me. Also, the same person. He was wearing cargo shorts. I'll describe this person for you. He's wearing cargo shorts. Really peeking over here. He's wearing cargo shorts. He had a Mountain Dew bottle that was in one of his cargo pockets, and cargo short pockets. I gotta say cargo pockets, and he was spitting dip into it. This is not. I'm not building this up. He was spitting dip into it, and they got stadium nachos. And he sits down next to his friend. He goes, "Man, these are the best nachos I ever had. Have you had these nachos?" But it was like the very crappy, melted, like the cheese in a packet that they squeezed into there, that they put in the microwave, probably the fridge too, and then they just like, it was just the circular nacho, God, what's it called? Yeah, nacho chip. So I choose not to go there anymore. I can just watch it at home. Yeah, but you can feel the roar of the crowd. I don't need that. I don't need to feel the roar of the crowd. I don't need any of that. This is what's going on in the back of my head as I tell that story. Should I have given enough padding between starting the second half of this show in that first half and the end of the first half? Because I, like, truly, after this outro break ended, I just leaned back up and said, let's do this. I also have to do news time. I'll tell you right now, at this point in time, news time is not done. I know what the topic is. It's hockey. The hockey returns, and how it's about Warner and their big bet on airing hockey on TNT. I also don't know. I do have a new job, and it is at Warner Media. And I also don't know if I'm allowed to do stories on Warner. And as I say, I have a new job. It is the lunch hour. So I had to record this episode about 5 hours earlier than I usually do it. And I do have my work laptop sitting next to me. I'm constantly looking at Slack. So if you see me look off to camera left, my right, I'm constantly looking at Slack and my email to make sure I'm not receiving anything I need. Okay. What else is going on? So I got the job and the shirt. That game is Sunday, and I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to go to it. I'm going to watch it. That's it. That's all I got. That's all. Oh, there's The Rock's Vanity Fair profile. I did not put it in here because I don't think it needs to be discussed. Usually I pick usually I'll do a profile thing. I'll do a profile. I'll talk about a profile, but yeah, the Rock's Vanity. I'll go over this briefly. The Rock's Vanity Fair profile. Usually you find things out about people that you never find out, or they talk about something that they were, something in the news that they were a part of, and like how The Rock had a little disagreement, a feud with Vin Diesel for Fast and Furious. And the writer of the article. All right, I'm just going to bring it up. I'm sorry. I don't want to, but I'm going to. So this is I might add it to the docket. It's too much work to do that, though. Chris Heath. He and Chris Heath have known each other for about 20 years now, because Heath has been writing profiles on The Rock for that long. And so it's a cover profile for Vanity Fair magazine, and they talk about the feud with Vin Diesel. And that feud, it really encompassed, all it was is it's just two heads butting, two very testosterone-filled heads butting over the Fast and the Furious, and them just talking vaguely and quite frankly nonsense, non-speak about why they don't get along or whatever. And The Rock commented on that. And I think the feud is over. I feel like it's over, and I feel that he can come back in 10 and 11, in Fast and Furious 10 and 11. He needs to, because F9, he was missed in that. Apparently people didn't like F9. I really enjoyed that. This is why I don't read reviews. I enjoy just watching things. Now, did I watch Malignant last Friday night? Was I bored? Did I get up multiple times during that movie and leave the room to do something else? Oh, now's a good time to add a little bit more cat litter to the cat box at 10 p.m. on a Friday night. They talked about The Rock's jumping into professional wrestling, the reason why he did it, how he did it, how his very, rocky relationship with his father. I always forget. I've even watched the show, Young Rock, which is fantastic. Truly, it's so good. And I still found out things. I was reminded of things in here, like that he's half black. Because he steers into the Samoan side so often that you forget that he's also half black. But yeah, his dad's black Canadian. Also, The Rock is 49. And he was cut from the Canadian Football League at age 22, and that's when he decided he was going to do wrestling. They also have a picture of him shirtless, and it's from behind, and my God, he still looks so svelte, and he's just this giant man. And also, they talk about his cheat days, and I love his cheat days. They only mention it in passing, but I still love that he's a in-shape guy that loves a cheat day. They talked to Oprah. They talked to Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot. Anyway, good profile. Check it out. I guess I'll have to link it now. Whatever. What's coming up next? Okay, so here's next. This comes from Deadline, written by Dade Hayes. G4 sets date for return to linear TV on Verizon, Fios, Cox, Xfinity TV, and Philo. So I do want to tackle. So G4 TV used to be Tech TV. It was a cable channel, linear cable channel that was about in the early 2000s. That was early 2000s. I was gonna say late 90s, but I don't recall. Also, don't know if we had the channel in the late 90s. but it was about just video games and nerd culture and all that stuff. I hate the word nerd culture. The phrase, whatever. And it was, in its heyday. I mean, that's why they call it a heyday. It was so good. It was cheap. Oh, that was my chair. I thought the camera turned off. It was cheap. It's cheaply made. Everything was cheaply made, and it was before before the internet was what it is today. It was just enjoying the tech and geeky worlds and video game and shows like X-Play and Cheat and Attack of the Show and Screensavers and The Arena, which is like esports before esports, and oh my gosh, just so many great shows. Then it went away because things like Twitch and YouTube and just the internet in general became such more viable than let's watch this review of a video game on cable. And then everybody left because it was owned by the network was owned by E. Who owns E? They worked in the same offices as E. So who owns E? NBC Universal. It went away, and some people went off and basically did the same thing. Adam Sessler went to Rev 3 Games, which I think died like a year or two after he went there, and then he just was just this old guy on Twitter just talking about video games. But now he's back, and then Kevin Pereira tried to keep Attack of the Show alive with a couple of different iterations, both on the internet, with whatever iterations were on the internet under the Attack, and then that died. They got a big boost from Disney, a big boost from Disney, and then that eventually died because they went back to linear because Disney tried to do a gaming like segment. I've done an episode of News Time on that. And then that died. And I believe one of the hosts has been canceled. Anyway, Kevin wasn't hosting that, but I don't think it was a good workplace for anybody. So, any woman, really. And so, go read up on that. I had to do a lot of research for that one. Jeez. Personal reason. I just read. I didn't do an episode of News Time on that. And then Morgan Webb and Kristen and just a bunch. And Olivia Munn obviously became a big actress. She was on Attack of the Show, and then one day she just never showed up again. And so now it's returning November 16th. Very long prelude to say that on Fios, Cox TV, Xfinity TV, and Philo. And so 3 of those are just regular cable. Philo is streaming cable. I hope at some point they break it. I mean, I think they're going to break everything out, onto much like a late night with Seth Meyers. They break every single piece of every show out onto the YouTube, and they'll still have their, they've been doing live stuff on Twitch and YouTube.com. But it's just not the same because they're pulling in. I know times change. And I know that it is best to they're bringing, that early 2000s mentality where everything was cheap and, they had to find the funny and the interesting in what they were talking about and bring it and now bring it into the modern day 2021 era. And they've been doing things since the early summer, I believe. And I have not seen one more than 10 seconds because quite frankly, it is just not my flavor. Because the thing is, they brought in a lot of, Chris Hardwick. I forgot about Hardwick. I can't believe I forgot about Hardwick. He was part of the early 2000, the early G4 stuff. But they brought in a lot of, and Matt Myra closed out. But they brought in a lot of younger video game playing people from Twitch and YouTube and personalities, and I just don't like them at all. I don't like any one of them, and I'm glad they're making money. I'm glad they're happy. I just don't like them, and I don't think they're funny. And I think a lot of people who play video games online, probably say 99% of them, are just a bunch of screamers, and that's where they think, they like screaming and cursing, and that's where the funny is. No, I don't think that's where the funny is. So it's coming back on all of these cable-ish platforms and cable platforms. I can't wait to see them expand into Hulu with live TV and YouTube TV, the ones that are, and Sling, the three popular ones versus Philo. And Pluto TV, because even with the free stuff, Pluto TV and Tubi and the ones where they have continuous channels, Samsung TV, I think it's called, LG channels, all the free ones, and Roku channels, all the free ones that people already have, they're not going to go seek out. No one, I don't think one person on this planet, and let's say they live in a big market like New York, and they have Cox TV, and they're like, oh my God, it's coming to Cox, I can't wait. Like, I don't think one person is doing that. They have new people behind the scenes. Josh Sella, Chief Revenue Officer of G4 and Spectator Gaming. He called the network a pioneer for, okay, whatever. I don't really give a crap what he says. G4 said its programming will be produced and delivered through a first-of-its-kind 24/7 broadcast studio featuring a collaborative workspace and professional esports and gaming environment. The space is designed by architectural firm Populous, whose credits include projects at Yankee Stadium, Red Bull HQ, and Esports Stadium, Arlington. I think the Red Bull HQ is the most important part of that. I don't know what they would have done at Yankee Stadium, and also I don't know what's at Yankee Stadium. Maybe they do have an esports section, or maybe they just have like a sports entertainment section for people to experience section for people to do batting and things like that. But the Red Bull HQ, because they're a big name in esports, is yeah. Okay. So shows that are coming to the network: Attack of the Show. We know Attack of the Show is coming back. X-Play is coming back. Attack of the Show is their chat show variety show. It's very fun, and when it's not forced to be funny, it's very funny. And God, I hope they have some funny hosts, because it lives or dies by that. Lives or dies by that. X-Play is their video game review show. It's going to be digital first content brand that balances an authoritative, loudmouth confident. Yeah. So digital first. So they're going to definitely break out episodes on there first. Chunks of episodes. Boosted is a weekly esports comedy series. Don't no. Just do a new show. Ninja Warrior, that is the show that helped build this, Ninja Warrior, American Ninja Warrior, all that stuff is only popular in America because of G4. So they're bringing the original Japanese version, the Tokyo Broadcasting System Television Incorporated version. ESL Gaming, there's going to be several primetime esports programs. Great, cool. And Dungeons and Dragons Limited Series. Huh. Okay. I don't know what that's going to involve, but whatever. I can't. I want to see what is up with this. And yeah, I'm excited. I just closed something I should not have. I don't know what that is. And we will see. I'll just close my calendar. I gotta see what all my meetings are, baby. All right, let's move on. This next one comes from the rap written by Brian Welk. Golden Globes will be awarded in 2022 without NBC telecast. So if you don't know, Hollywood Foreign Press Association got in a lot of trouble last year because there aren't any people of color. There aren't any black people in the HFPA organization. What it is HFPA. They're supposed to be representative of the. They're not supposed to be, but people want them to be. And it is smart for them to be. And so they're supposed to be representative of, they're made up of journalists from around the world who then vote for the Golden Globes. So it's usually one or two journalists, from Spain or France, China, things like that, America. And it was found out last year that they didn't have any black people inside of their ranks, and then people got upset, rightfully so. And just a bunch of other stuff. Like it's just a whole slew of things, and I've covered this, once or twice. So just search HFPA on C Plus Comedy. It's getting so lazy. No, I'm not getting lazy. And then at one point, NBC Universal. So people were like, "We're going to give back our Golden Globes," and then they're taking this more seriously than the Oscars not nominating people of color. Period. Come on. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's like they turn a blind eye to the Oscars, but they don't say anything about but they do everything about the Globes. So NBC Universal, which owns NBC, broadcasting network, the national broadcasting company. I don't know if that's what it stands for. They said that early on last year, they said they were not going to air the Golden Globes in 2022 because of this controversy. And they've stuck by it. I think in the past, if a network said that, then the HFPA, the one organization would talk to the other organization and they'd work something out. But this is just NBC said no, and then all the other broadcast networks are like, we ain't doing this one either. So the 79th Globes will still go on. The 79th Globes will still go on. So here's the deal. LA Times found out that the HFPA had no black journalists among its 87 members. And that's when everybody started boycotting. Scarlett Johansson, Tom Cruise were among the people who said, we're going to give back our Golden Globe trophies. There's been no move on any of this. So in the past year, HFPA has been getting a new board of directors, added a diverse group of 21 new members, recruited 3 non-members for its board of directors, and even partnered with the NAACP to regularly review their diversity goals, among other steps. They lost the CEO. They lost a bunch of people. It's very interesting to see how quickly they move, but it seems as though no one's really taking it seriously. Like no one outside of the organization is following suit and saying, okay, we'll go to the Globes or whatever. But I think we'll have a more definitive decision for that stuff come December, because the Globes are still they're the second biggest award in North America. I think it goes Oscars, Globes, Emmys. Only because they also do movies. Actually, I think it's Oscars, Emmys, Globes. So they're third biggest. Tonys, Grammys. And then the rest. And then there's also the BAFTAs, of course, but that's over there in jolly old England. Which also does not have a lot of people people of color, period. Interesting. We'll definitely have more of an answer come December, January, around that time. Hey, let's move on to this final story. This comes from Crystal Echo Hawk over at Variety. Indigenous representation is still scarce in Hollywood. It's a guest column. That's a cool name. And I know she's an Indigenous person, but Crystal Echo Hawk is just a cool name. That's a cool name. So this coincided with Indigenous Peoples Day, and it's a very good look at what Native people have in America in terms of representation in television and film versus what is sorely, sorely missing. And this goes back to previous topics on this show where I talk not just about what's missing for blacks, but also for the LGBTQ community. Just gotta speed right through it. So many letters. I'm kidding. LGBTQ community, and then also for Asians? What's missing for Asians? What's missing for Indians? What's missing for Latinos, the natives, and everybody, women. I can't wait till someone does a "there's not enough men in television" story. There's not enough men. There's too many women. How many women do we really need on screen at a time? Okay. So, Crystal Echo Hawk co-led the Reclaiming Native Truth study, which is one of the largest investments of its kind to Indian country to understand how critical the visibility, this I'm reading directly from the piece, of Native peoples is to increasing public support on the issues that impact Native communities. So let's get into some numbers. Data from the Reclaiming Native Truth found that the inclusion of Native characters in primetime television and popular films ranged from 0 to 0.4%. Subsequent studies have found very little movement forward in Native representation. And it's true because we still don't see Native people playing, even major characters in shows or anything. And if they do, they're just going to be playing, not stereotypes, but they're only going to be playing Native people. But now, hold on, let's just move on. Let's move into this. In 2020, University of California, Los Angeles published the Hollywood Diversity Report, which is something I have assuredly talked about, most assuredly talked about, which analyzed content from 2018 and 2019. The report found Native representation to be between 0.3 and 0.5% in film. In television, it's almost not there. It's between 0 and 0.6. Is an email I need to send. That was a Slack message, if you don't know that noise. All right. See, this is why you got to have the computer open right next to you. The 2021 Hollywood Diversity Report showed Native representation in film stagnant at 0.6%. These reports also found that creative roles like writers or directors showed virtually no Native representation. I think, and then I think of all the, in the entertainment industry, of all the types of writers, varieties, the flavors of writers out there, I do believe that while there are very, very, very little numbers for Native writers and producers, I do think that they have the most tight-knit community because of that, which is also a bad thing to hear. Like the only reason that they can't get work is because they have to come together. And the only reason I say that is because there are, hold on, I want to get his name right. Let's see. There are writers like Joey Clift, who is like, I think every one of his tweets is truly just about the Native community and the Native entertainment community in general. And he's a very funny guy, very smart, and so. But the things that I see on his pages are talking about that stuff. So now we know that we have there's I think representation. When it does happen, it really does stick out to me. Like, this is like why I've mentioned this 100 times. I'm not watching anything without any people of color. Like, if it doesn't have any people of color, I'm not watching it. And now I've decided if there are people of color, they have to be in substantial roles. I'm not going to watch something where there's one Mexican person and a sea of white people, and their one line is, "Hey, you got to do what you got to do." And that's the only thing. I can't watch that. No, I don't want to. No matter how good it is. So I'll never see a what's his name? What's the guy who did Shaun of the Dead? I have, and I Edgar Wright, and I have most of his movies on, you know, the Blu-ray and DVD. It's funny. I bought the Shaun of the Dead, the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World Ends with You. The End of the World. World Ends with You is a Japanese RPG game that I've never played. But I have that on in 4K. It was on sale for like $15 or $18 over the summer, and I bought that, and I watched Shaun of the Dead, and he wrote the N-word into the script in 2004, which not funny, not funny then, not funny now. And then, but I look at the cast across those movies, and I don't care if it's set in England or in Ireland or whatever. It's still no people of color, like zero at all. So I just had no interest. Like it's just whatever. But my thing is, it's only for new stuff. Like if it's something from the '80s, I can't get mad at something from the '80s or '90s, you know, early 2000s. If there's no people of color, like people getting mad at Friends. Like yeah, okay, great, but get mad at one of your little Disney movies where everybody has to be one color and be from one continent. John Oliver made a Marvel joke on in the latest episode of Last Week Tonight, and the audience turned on him so fast, and I thought it was so funny. Of course I'm ruining the joke. I'm butchering it, but he said it's just going to be, I forgot what the setup was, but then he said it's just going to be like a vapid, empty experience where there's nothing of sustenance happening, like the Marvel Universe. And the audience went, ugh. And I just thought, guys, it's true. And also, don't go to the taping if you just don't want to laugh. It's just a bunch of jokes. And some of them are good and some of them are bad. And that was a very good joke. Get all angry over, he made fun of Marvel. He made fun of my Disney movie. So let's get back to this. So the native representation, when I see it, or when I see any type of representation, it sticks in my head. Oh, you know what? It shows like a show called The Other Two, and I'll get back to the native thing in a second. On HBO Max. Used to be on Comedy Central, I believe, but now it's on HBO Max. Starring Drew Tarver, Molly Shannon, and a bunch of other people. It's a very funny show, but when I watch that, especially in the second season, especially with my new parameters for watching television and movies, I think, like, I see the secondary characters they choose, like, they have to choose these people to be in the show and to have lines in the show, and every single one of them for like 5 straight episodes, besides Wanda Sykes, was white, and I just couldn't understand why. Like, you guys, I know the creators are pretty they have diverse thoughts, and you know they're both from SNL, and they're great people. One of them's from College Humor, and I just think that you have all the chances in the world you're making a show that involves the queer community, and it's about women, but every character you choose that is supporting or ancillary those might be the same words, is white, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Like Drew Tarver, his character's gay, just like him in real life. And every guy, like his boyfriend is white, but every guy he hooked up with after he and his boyfriend broke up, spoiler alert, was white until like the second to last episode, which I just don't, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And the show is set in New York. But Friends was set in New York and there were no people of color. It was 1994. I mean, you just can't do anything about that. Just like when I watched Top Gun. I just bought Top Gun. So I watched Top Gun for the first time. One black character for the entire Air Force. And while I enjoyed my time with that movie, I sat there. It's like 1986. No people are going in this one. So there you go. So now, back to this native representation. Like I said, it sticks out to me when I see any people of color and a majority white thing. And so now there are shows like Rutherford Falls and Reservation Dogs, Both are so funny. So funny. It's so good. Check them both out. Rutherford Falls is on Peacock and Reservation Dogs on FX. It's just both great shows that don't wave. If it was quite frankly a show about black people, they would wave the whole black thing in your face. It's true. I could point you to about 40 shows on BET that do that. But they're great shows nonetheless. And then nonetheless. And then movies like Wild Indian and Night Raiders. I've only heard of Night Raiders. I don't know what Wild Indian is. Anyway, that's where the representation is. And all these reports, we see, it's so interesting. We see like a report and it says there aren't any women directors or women producers, or there aren't any Asian actors or any, and we never act on it. Like, it's always just numbers and we always just talk about it, but no one ever acts on it. And it's just frustrating to see, because I would love for somebody to start pushing that stuff forward, and not just greenlighting the stories that are about someone's culture, but just putting a native person that's a person that happens to be native in the lead of a show, of a CBS procedural, or a Latino person hosting, a person that happens to be Latino and queer, and they're hosting a Fox broadcasting dance show, because that's all they air now. We gotta move the ball forward. We can't just talk about it and then not do anything. Especially all these people who have all this power. Michael B. Jordan was the only one to do anything after him and Ava DuVernay, and probably now a handful of people. But after a couple years ago, when Frances McDormand stood up on that Oscar stage and said 2 words, inclusion writer, and everybody stood up and clapped, but no one's done anything about it since. So let's do something about it. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me just lean in and unlock the iPad. And also interviews with your favorite comedians like Jo Firestone, whose new comedy special, Good Timing, is out, available on Peacock. See what I did there? Also, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy if you want to see a video version of that interview, which is the only way you can see that if you're watching the video version of this show, as well as a video version of the show, the Constitutionals podcast, where I'm sitting in my one of 2 Brave shirts, both of which I bought in 2013. One is a regular season shirt and one's a postseason shirt. You could you can also see our premiere video show, News Time, which is not out yet, but it will be out prior to this episode, I hope, with the release of this episode. I'll talk about the NHL. I was going to say the Navy. In the Navy. I don't even have a title for this episode. We'll find out. We'll figure it out. Who gives a crap? youtube.com/cpluscomedy. See a video version of this show and News Time and the video interviews. We'll be talking about NHL for this week's episode of News Time. Instagram, Twitter, @cpluscomedy. Me on Instagram and Twitter, @chatblackwhite. Like us on Facebook. Rate, review, subscribe. Tell your friends about this show, please. Wherever you get your podcasts. The Constitutionals podcast. That's it for us. Goodbye.